guys, how are you? I'm bringing in right now Ellen KARIS. Hi, Ellen.
Hi, baby. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
Thanks for coming on the half naked conversations with comedians.
Thank you. I'm not. Should I take my pants off, my leggings off? Is that?
I have no pants on.
Oh,
I haven't worn pants in, I don't know, 6 or 7 weeks.
no, I don't do that. And honestly, I've even times put on tighter pants because I know me and I'll just go nuts. You know what I mean? So I try to, because if I feel like, oh, wow, I'm so thin and I'm, and I could just whatever, I don't feel full.
Yeah.
Then I'll just lose it. So that's why I kind of keep the pants on. I have a husband, and at this point, it's like heinous if anybody walks around without clothes. So
yeah, well, if you walk around without clothes, your husband's going to walk around without clothes, right?
Yes, that would.
I wonder how the male-female thing goes. I'm guessing. This is great.
It's been 7 weeks, but no, really, like who's counting?
Yeah, no kidding.
Actually,
let me give a couple of shout outs to a few people: Carolyn Bird, Susan, Jeremy, Marcia. Hi, Lisa, Diane, and Christine. Hi, everybody. This is Ellen KARIS. She is a comedian and an actor. And looking at your bio, I noticed you have a couple of big things. You have an iTunes podcast, KARIS Comedy Corner, which sounds great. And you're also on The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel.
Yes.
How freaking cool is that?
I have to say, out of all the shows I've ever worked on, it is, first of all, they're wonderful people. They're like the crew, lots of women. The person that created it was a woman, and her husband, Amy Sherman Palladino, and her husband, Dan. But Amy's there. She called the shots. Her assistant director is one of the nicest assistant directors I've ever worked for, and fantastic. Like, just really great, knows what she needs to get out of people.
Right.
Great crew. Now I am a waitress in the deli, and I did that season 2 and season 3. So I've never left really the deli. But the show is, first of all, so attention to detail.
Yes, I've seen it. Yeah,
everything, the food. So I'm in the deli. So like the menus, the food has to be 60s food. You can't have kale. What I'm saying?
A caveat for the people watching: I also never leave the deli, but it's a completely different scenario. So that's amazing.
Yeah, so it's great. It's fun. And the hair. The only thing, I'll still do it, of course, but they do have to cut my hair, and my hair actually is a little on the long side, just because they haven't had a haircut in a long time. But they do, like, they want everybody that works on that show, and the men get a haircut, but it's different when a man gets a haircut because it'll go back. But if you're a woman and you have some length, you have short hair, it doesn't matter. But if you have, I like a little bit of length because I'm tiny, but they've cut my hair, and I never have enough time to go to my person to get it cut. So this way she can cut it at least the way that I want.
Right.
So, I've had the first season's haircut was horrible, but the second one was a little bit better. But that's the only thing. And they take a long time. The teasing, the spray,
really.
Oh my gosh, it's crazy.
So I'm curious, how did you get that role?
What?
How did you get the server role in The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel?
Just submissions, from casting. Well, you know what? I'm sorry. I take that back.
You auditioned?
Hang on a second.
Okay.
Let's do the truth. The truth is that they had a waitress costume that was a small size.
Oh.
So I had fit the size requirements. And when I went there the first time, I'll never forget, I think I went over to, was it Steiner, or did I go to Astoria Kaufman? I can't remember. Anyway, so I put it on, and, I'm tiny, right? So my weight fluctuates a couple pounds here, a couple pounds there. And for me, that's a lot as a tiny person.
Right.
So I was particularly bloated that day. and I was having a little problem, and it was tight. And I'll never forget, and they're like trying to get it on. And then one of the costume people said, well, if it doesn't fit her, then we'll get somebody else. And I'm like, no, I am I will get into this if I have to give myself liposuction,
It's hysterical.
So that, I think, really, it wasn't talent. It was that I just, and this was honestly really one of the first times that being tiny helped. Because usually really you have to be
how tall are you?
A normal size. I'm 5 feet.
Uh-huh.
And 5 feet. That's it. I got a little.
5 feet. You're short. Yeah, you're tiny.
It's ridiculous. It's absurd. It's obnoxious. Is really what it is.
It's obnoxious. Yeah. Well, a lot of people are 5 feet to 5'4" women.
Yeah,
I think the average is about 5'3", 5'4" ish.
Who?
5'3" to 5'4" is about average.
Yeah. Listen, what I do for an inch, you have no idea. Okay, I would. 5'1", 5'2", but
that's hysterical.
I come from a long line of short Greek women, both sides, so I had no shot. Like there was nothing.
Really?
Yeah, that was it.
Wow, that's crazy.
But they were nice people.
That's crazy. I have my wife's brother-in-law. Her brother is Joel Maisel.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Michael. Yeah, her brother-in-law's brother plays Mike. So that's kind of that's fun.
Yeah,
they haven't done me any good.
They're all great. I haven't met him. Rachel, Mrs. Maisel, is very, very nice, very sweet. And I have to say this thing she did a few years ago. If you watch the STAG Awards, the Screen Actors Guild Awards, she won, and I will never forget. She thanked all of the background actors. We would be nothing, because they use a lot of background, and it wasn't just a thank you in the midst of all the thank yous. It was like a 2-minute. If you Google it, it was like a 2-minute speech. So the next season we went back, I said something to her. I said, that was just so amazing what you did and what you said, and it meant a lot, because how you feel, you know how you feel.
Yeah.
She goes, I wish I didn't even have to say it. It's the way it should be. I mean, she was just.
Now, I'm curious. Do you have a speaking role, or is it just serving?
I don't. I'm a feature. No. So I haven't said a peep.
Okay.
But I have been shown with pastrami, which is good.
I've been shown with pastrami. That's hysterical. That's awesome.
What more can a girl ask for? You know
what? I'm really happy to walk around with a tray of pastrami.
Yeah. Now this is how you'll recognize me. Although I look different because I have no makeup on in the show, and by the way, they put very little makeup. Like everything is different.
That's awesome. You've also worked with Tina Fey.
Yes, years
ago.
How was
that? Because holy shit, she's one of my favorites.
Yeah, I think the movie came out in 2015 or 2016. It's called Sisters. It plays all the time on, Showtime and on demand. So I was in the party, and it was with Amy Poehler and Tina Fey, and they played sisters that their parents leave them their house. And downsize or whatever. Parents are actually James Brolin and Diane Wiest, who one day they were on set as well, a couple days. So the party is like half the movie. So, I worked on that for a month. And they picked us up on 36th and 3rd and drove us out to Grumman in Bethpage, Long Island. It was like the old Grumman building. That's a studio now.
Wow.
So it was every day. It was intense, but it was fun. And so it was all the Saturday Night Live people, or a lot of them. Bobby Moynihan was there.
I would have been in heaven.
Kate McKinnon, who had been on SNL for the first season. The next season is the kind of when she blew up, or maybe she had already been up for the Emmy, but she wasn't. She was she was just about.
She really blew up in 2016, and with 2016 she really blew up.
Right. Okay. So it was around right before that, or right around that time. She was on SNL, obviously. She had a very small role in the movie. Maya Rudolph was in it. John Leguizamo, John Cena. Who else was? Ike Barinholtz,
Okay.
Renee Glastonbury, I think her name is. She won a Tony. It was just Samantha Bee.
Samantha Bee was in it.
Samantha Bee and I had a conversation because we're both sugar addicts. And so, craft services, and they had, every day, and the table and, with pies. And I'm just like, I can't. She's like, me neither. I love it. And so
that's cruel. That's cruel.
So it was great. It was great to watch Tina and Amy work. Tina's very, like my take. She's a little, I felt like she was a little more reserved. She was a little shyer. She's also, one of the executive producers. So when she's done, she's looking at the dailies. Her husband was there. They work together all the time.
Right.
So it was, it's still a job. And Paula Pell, who is one of the writers at SNL, wrote that movie. So, and then I think Amy was one of the executive producers as well. Both their kids, sets of kids came to the set. Entertainment Tonight came one time. It was the real deal. It was good. And then toward the end, James Brolin and Diane Weiss had come for a few scenes. And one night we were getting dinner, and James Brolin is like, are those Brussels sprouts? And I'm like, yes, those are Brussels sprouts. And I'm like, I just spoke to Barbara Streisand's husband.
That's so funny.
Brussels sprouts, this is where it's come to. But anyway,
I'm more like, I just spoke with Ellen Karis, who spoke with Tina Fey, who spoke. I'm like, yeah, I get you. It's all fun. It's so much fun.
Yeah, it's so those are good, but it's such a hard business. And now, you're an actress, you're a stand-up. We're all trying to make opportunities for ourselves. You've had this show, so
I haven't. I've only been doing it
from.
Yeah, this is
okay.
New. Yeah, I just do it every night.
Good for you. Good for you. We have to. My podcast I've had for years. As a matter of fact, when we are back in the studio at the comic strip, you'll have to come in as a guest.
I would love to. Yeah.
That'd be fun.
That would be great.
But yeah, now it's like production is completely shut down, and it is what it is. What are we going to do? It's completely out of our control, but it's scary, especially when you're not a payroll employee. We're freelancers.
Yes. Yes. And you do this full time, right?
Yeah, this is it. This comedy, stand up. All my gigs have gotten canceled. Let's see. I have one in November, so I'm praying. The one in October. I had one in October. I'm just like, oh my god. I had one in May. I have to tell you, when this first happened. So of course the ones in March, and I'm going like this because I use a date book.
Okay.
I use an eraser and a pencil. I know this is like foreign object.
This is old school here.
Wheels, right?
Yeah.
So March, I'm erasing, and then April, I'm erasing. And I had a couple of shows that I put a lot of time into. I was producing them myself.
Yeah.
What that entails. And then I remember when this
work.
Like, well, the one in May will happen. And there was actually a Greek community, and they were very excited, to have me. They were really great to deal with. And then when that went, I was like, oh my God. And it just transpired. So I got one left on the books in November. I did do a virtual, I've done a couple of virtual things.
And how was that?
I did a couple of privates. Actually, I have one coming up, bridal shower, May 9th. It's different. It's like, it's just
how weird.
It's different. I did one private, and it was at night. So okay, so let me set the scene for you. I got a call, and they got this was only like after the first week of lockdown. It wasn't even like, now.
Yeah.
And he says, I'm out in the Hamptons with my family, and we're all cooped up and wanted to do something different. Da, 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 da. So he's like, all right, we'll have you on at 9. We got Zoom. We're going to have a magician on. So all the ducks in a row, right, are aligned incorrectly.
Yeah.
It's Zoom. They're having me on after a magician at 9:30 after they've had, they said they did a Thanksgiving type dinner. So they're stuffed with tryptophan and Kumantashen and pie and God knows what,
Yeah.
So I couldn't tell. And they're like sitting on the couch. Their feet were up, like the feet, and I'm like,
oh, watching their feet.
Yeah, it's like, oh, this is good. This is good. So I did my thing. It's like you're hired, you do your job. I could hear a little laughter, but they were like half asleep. The dogs running by. I mean, it was just like, whatever. So it was what it was. I got paid, thank God. I was grateful.
Yeah.
Never heard from them again. So
I don't know what people expect to get if you're doing a comedy show via Zoom. I actually want to see one just to see what it's like before I ever say yes to any of them or try to do one. Because I have no idea. I know Steve Hofstetter. I don't know if you know him.
Yes, I know Steve.
He's doing the Nowhere Comedy Club, and he has people that are bouncers that come in and bounce for him. So, because I guess Zoom's gotten hacked a lot.
Yeah.
And so he'll come in and make sure that everybody's settled down. So I would actually pay to see that, just to see if it works.
Yeah. Steve's very industrious. So whatever he's doing, it's working. I'm gonna do this bridal shower in a couple weeks. I think that's gonna be fine. First of all, it's in the afternoon. I think it's gonna be, I'm actually looking forward to seeing how that is. But look, this is just a Band-Aid. I mean, we're not gonna sustain on this. These are few and far between.
Yeah.
Did one the other day, Jim Mandrinos. You know Jim, right? Jim Mandrinos?
I know of him, yeah.
Okay, so Jim put together a show. I mean, I was sitting in bed, but we did our material stuff. He had a tip jar. I got PayPal $9 today. So, what it is.
It's not what we normally get paid, but sometimes we don't even get paid that, though. Sometimes we're paying, so.
So listen, we just I felt like when this happened, I'm like, all right, listen, I'm gonna finish the TV show I was working on. I'm gonna write the play. I know Greek, so I'm gonna learn Italian. I'm gonna learn to play the piano. I'm gonna
work it out for you.
I'm gonna put my wedding pictures away, even though I've been married almost 11 years. And I really haven't done any of that.
Yeah.
So
what is your main go-to for the day? What do you do during the day?
I will tell you what I do consistently. I work out every day, and so I am a big of a workout junkie, and I go to this place. It's like a cult. It's an Upper East Side cult. There's no two ways about it. It's one step below Kabbalah. And all we talk about is green shakes and collagen and what the like sucked into this world.
Okay.
And because I have an obsessive personality, and
that's not a bad way to be obsessed.
Yeah, it's not a lot of time to Google a lot of research on intermittent fasting and all this stuff. It's stupid. It's just stupid. So when that freaked me out. I mean, I do think, and I'm not going to go on a health kick bandwagon, but I do think that especially with this Corona thing, it's very interesting. Unfortunately, how like the underlying conditions and all that stuff. And listen, I'm not going to preach, and it's not like I'm perfect. And believe me, it's. I used to eat a lot worse, and it's evolved. Also, as you get older, your body changes, so you can't have that pizza at 4:00 in the morning anymore. Just in your 20s. Right. So I've tried, and plus I have seen. people in my life with diabetes and high blood pressure and this and that. And unfortunately, you know, most of the time it doesn't end well. So, you know, I think that also made me a lot, you know, a little more vigilant. But all this to say that when I do work out 5 to 6 days a week, and I love it, I dance, I sweat.
Oh, that's great then.
Yeah. It's like, I really enjoy it. It takes a lot of, you know, it's time, but I do enjoy it.
But anything takes, I mean, it's the same as doing comedy though. Anything takes time, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So
that's a nice go-to, and it keeps you mentally grounded.
I also I wake up in the morning. It's like it gets me moving too, especially with now when I'm not going out. You know, that freaked me out when we realized that gyms were getting closed. So they did the virtual stuff, and I mean, the first week was like a catastrophe. You know, the Zooms and the this, and you know, some of the trainers didn't have probably good Wi-Fi, and you know, whatever, all this stuff.
Right.
Trying to figure out where I was going to work out. I mean, I live in a New York City apartment, and then I have carpeting. I don't have a hardwood floor, but anyway, over time, it's definitely worked out. So that is something I do almost every day. I've taken Sundays off. I do that, and it's also it helps with consistency. You know, to give you consistency. So I just say to everybody, it doesn't have to be that. With yoga, whatever, stretch, just do
something,
some movement of some sort that's not necessarily just taking the walk around the block. So that I've been doing, and I've been keeping up with my podcast, emails, whatever, you know, business emails I'm having. I am doing some more just sort of like funny videos and stuff like that, you know, just to kind of keep it going, which
you have to.
Really kind of part of what we do anyway.
Yeah.
And, you know, my husband calls me every few minutes for something, you know, so then I get up and do that. And, you know, and he gives me little assignments. He said, and you know, I don't know, the day just honestly, you know, just go.
I
am working. I'm sorry. I the first few weeks I was a lot more diligent. I am working on a play about my great grandmother, and that is something that I've wanted to do for a super long time. And I even took a writing class a while ago, and I had all these bits and pieces. So I did spend a few of the first few weeks going through photos. I spoke to my aunt, you know, I spoke to some relatives, and so I got some of that, but then I kind of put it here, and then I did some other things, and so you have to keep.
Now, are you working with Carol Montgomery on that, or are you doing that on your own?
So I'm still writing it.
Okay.
I think when I have a working piece done, and when I say working piece, my plan is really to put it on its feet like as a 10-minute someplace, you know what I mean?
Just so you can workshop it.
Right, a showcase or a 20-minute, and because you're not going to have the whole piece done. I mean, these things take a long time. So, and then maybe because I know Carol directs, so maybe then I'll get her, you know, because you need a director. You can't do it yourself, obviously. Right. That's where Carol will probably come in. But before all of this happened, I was working, you know, with her, with, Women of a Certain Age comedy. I did down at the Crane Theater, and we did a few things on the road and stuff. So,
well, speaking of your comedy, let's watch a clip of you. I'm excited about this. I just have to grab it off the screen real quick. Let's see. How do I want to do this? Stop that, and I'm going to go in here and grab. By the way, I'm Ellen KARIS. Okay. And I'm going to go in here.
That's you.
That would be me. Let me see. Okay, good. All right. So let's watch you. See how you do.
Oh boy.
For a very long time, before we got married, before we decided to get married, I knew him for 12 years, which I know is it's crazy, right? And yes, we've been 7 married, so I know a long time. And I have to tell you, when we told our friends that we were getting married, they were in shock because they thought you're going to be one of those couples, you're going to get married. They were like, oh my, why? Why now? I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you why two people that have been dating for so long decide to get married. Because one day you look at that person and you realize you are not going to do any better than that. That is the truth. This is it. This is it. That and the health insurance. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to lie. I like you people. He had health insurance, right? Which is what I should do. They should be doing with the dating websites. They should hook up people that have health insurance with people that don't have health insurance. He loves Groupon. Does anybody into the Groupon? The Groupon. He's all right. That's okay. You can say it. It's fine. We won't judge. So he loves Groupon, and it was very sweet. For our anniversary last year, he surprised me, and we went ziplining over Flushing because it was $14.95. You gotta live till you've gone over CVS, let me tell you. I'm on the edge. Did you guys watch the Oscars? Do you watch the Oscars? Okay. So, do you know the Oscars? They always have an accounting firm that comes out and they say they do the tallying for, who the winners are. Okay, I worked for that accounting firm. I did. And I had a revelation this last year when I watched the Oscars. I realized that I had a better shot at going to the Oscars as an accountant than I did as an actress. I do work out. I mean, listen. My motivation is my mother's ass. It's basically what it is. I don't know if you're familiar with the Greek ass, but it's big. And I know you're looking at me like, oh my God, you're so tiny. I know. I'm 102 pounds and I'm 87 pounds of ass, and that's how that math works. I do it all. I do, the cardio sculpt and the spin and the Pilates and all this stuff and the dance and I tell you, who made that all up? Who instituted that? ISIS. ISIS. It's ISIS's plot to get back to us. They said they were going to get us from the inside.
That's a great set.
Oh my.
Where did you do that at? That looked like is that a tape that you did, an album?
Yeah, it's my DVD. I did it. It's already like 4 years ago. At Broadway Comedy Club. The upstairs room, the small room.
Even better.
I love that room.
It's a great room.
Although, again, I hope at some point, we'll get past this Corona thing, but I love the intimate rooms. I mean, it's the best,
that's a fantastic.
Yeah, that was a great night, and a lot of my people that I knew came, and people that brought people came, and so it was a lot of fun. It took me such a long time to do a DVD, as you know.
Yes.
And when it does happen, it is because the stars are aligned that night. You've got to get that lightning in the box. I had 120 iterations before that, so that one was.
Oh yeah. How many cameras did you have on that? Did you hire a crew for that?
I had one in the back, and then I was just going to do a single shot, and I MC an ovarian cancer walk every year in Prospect Park in September. Okay. And this year will be the 12th year I'll be doing it.
Wow.
If we are able to, I hope so.
Right.
Social, I mean, come on, it's September, for God's sakes, right? So the person that is in charge wanted to get some B-roll of me. So because I'm sort of like the house MC. So her friend, and so he stayed on the stage, and then he's like, well, and I said, are you gonna just get a few minutes and leave? He's like, no. He goes, look, I'll stay. So he wound up staying. So he got the side view, and then we spliced everything together, and and the editing took so long.
Editing is not easy. And he stayed on stage with you the whole time?
He was on the side. Yeah, he was on the side. And
see, that's what, because I've tried to do a couple of albums, and I've had up to 5 cameras. And I freak out with the cameras. I mean, I still do my stuff, but it's like I know the cameras are on me.
Yeah, I understand.
And it feels weird. It feels weird. It does. You have to take a filming class.
Yeah, you feel like it has to be perfect.
Yeah. Like, don't swear too much, don't do this too much. But when I'm just being myself, it doesn't really matter. I have a great guy that does most of my videos. And in the beginning, it was just like, well, I can't use that. I walked off frame, or I can't use that. Like, I think the last one, he was unwrapping something. It's like,
people don't realize it. I mean, I used to take the camera with me everywhere.
Yeah.
And when I come home, and it was like the wait staff walked by. It was too dark. I look this big. It's painful. It's
hard. It's not easy, and that was beautifully done.
Thank you. And you want to. I mean, I have dark hair. I have dark eyes. You want to wear.
Yeah, the lighting, everything was perfect.
Pop of color. So I try to be a little cognizant of the style, and we evolve. We evolve over time too. Our set evolves. We evolve.
How long have you been doing comedy?
Oh God, it's 20 years. It's
20
about
years.
Time. So this is my story, my short story. I started my life as an accountant. I got a bachelor's degree in accounting,
which was a great joke, by the way.
Right. Well, thank you. The truth.
Yeah.
And then I got my CPA. I worked in public accounting, got my CPA. Then I decided to get my MBA. I wanted to go on. I always knew I'd get another degree. And then I went to go work on Wall Street. A lot of my friends were on Wall Street. They were making money. They worked, half the hours. They made so much. They had so much more fun. I'm like, all right, I'm out of here. And then while I was getting my MBA, I got a job with one of the investment banks on the finance side, though, not on the trading side.
Okay.
And then when I was done with the MBA, I was going to go for my CFA, which is Chartered Financial Analyst.
Yeah.
Financial analyst. And I took the first part of that. I passed, and then I took the second part, and I failed. I was like on the borderline. I didn't pass, and although I didn't really study, and then I was just, I'm tired of it. Like, I'm bored. I want to do something creative. I mean, I'm an expressive person. I do like numbers. I still do to this day. But it's like I want something with some juice. And I was TV and TV. I watched so much TV as a kid that it would really be considered child abuse today. I mean, that's
funny.
Plopped. So I always, I was the child of sitcoms, the real kind of sitcoms. So I was like, you know what? I've never taken an acting class. I've never done anything theatrical before. And I took an improv class.
Okay.
I loved it. It was like the new school. I loved it. So I was like, all right, I'm going to take I can't remember what the next one was, but I don't know. I took it on camera. Then I finally was like, I'm going to take an acting class. I went to a place called Weiss Barron, was an acting school.
I've heard of that.
And then they had commercial classes, and I'm like, oh my God, maybe I'll get a commercial. I mean, I was delusional too. I was like, I thought
you have to be. You have to be.
And I thought, little did I know that I by the way, I didn't know until I got into this that I was considered ethnically ambiguous. And I'm like, I'm Greek. What does that mean exactly? Like, I had no idea.
See, maybe Jewish, maybe Italian, Greek.
Right. And it's funny because when I started, especially in the commercial world, it was much more blonde, blue eye, redheads, which redheads still work, but redhead. And then as it started to, become a little more ethnic, I was like, okay. And it totally bypassed us Mediterranean looking women, and it went right to sort of like Asians and Latino, and you know what I mean. So like my whole group got blown away, unless it was like Olive Garden, that kind of.
Unless it was Olive Garden.
So, commercials never worked out for me, even though I'm always like.
How many commercials do you think you've auditioned for? Like, do you have an agent and a manager that sends you out, or do you?
I've had freelanced over the years, so like I've never had anybody solid. I've never really signed with anybody.
Okay.
And that's like its own thing, and not to take away from people that. Listen, you have to have talent, no two ways about it and all that, but there is a huge element of luck and also what people are looking for at that time. I did a ton of those workshops where you meet a casting director and you meet an agent, and I mean, maybe I got a few auditions afterwards and stuff like that, but for the most part,
wait a second, because you did get cast in Sisters and you did get cast in The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. So all of those things kind of, build you up to get to that point, right?
Yeah, it also prepared me to be on a set,
right.
Because when I think about it, when I first started out, if I got something like The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, like I wouldn't have known what the hell to do, So at least when I walked on set, I was a pro and I had other experiences and some theater pieces and that type of thing. So I went to a lot of school. I believe in being a student. And then I also took a 2-year Meisner program with Joanna Bexon. A lot of comics have studied with her. And then almost 12 years ago, I quit the day job.
And what was it that she taught? I'm writing it down.
Oh, she teaches Meisner. Actually.
Oh, the Meisner technique.
A lot of comics, Ray Romano, Kevin James, all the guys on Long Island. I mean, she's Jim Gaffigan.
Really?
She's been her student list is huge.
Wow.
But as far as the stand-up goes, before Joanna, I was studying with a teacher named Penny Templeton.
Uh-huh.
And she would have us improv something from our life every day as a warm-up exercise, but when class started. So at the time, one of my sisters was getting married. And I would come in every week. And because there was always, again, we're Greek, a lot of drama. I mean, there's still drama also, but there was a lot of drama about the wedding and this and that. And
I think the biggest stereotype of Greek weddings is my big fat Greek wedding.
Right. So this is before my big fat Greek wedding. So okay. I would do all this stuff, and one day she said to me, "I have 2 notes for you. One, you should write a one-woman show about your sister's Greek wedding." This is before the movie. And I said, who's going to want to see that? Because I have vision.
Wow.
And
how many years before the movie was this?
It was about 2 years.
Oh.
If you know any background about the movie, she really was. She peddled that, and she did it as a one-woman show for like 10 years before that. So
she really
happened. And I sent her, and I wish I kept it. I sent her a headshot. I found her manager's name in like TV Guide. I got the address. I sent her a headshot, and she actually sent me a note.
Really?
And I wish I kept it. And it said, "Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I don't have anything to do with casting, but I'll try to pass your photo along, whatever." And I am sure that every Greek girl that even felt like she was an actress sent her a headshot. So the fact that she actually wrote me a note,
that's very sweet. Yeah.
So anyway, so she had 2 notes. So it was that one, and then she said, "I hope you talk about your Greek family in your stand-up." And I'm like, "I don't do stand-up." And she said, "Get some." That's what she said. Get some. And I was like, "Oh." So I'll never forget. That was one of my aha moments in my life. I've only had one, and that was it. That was my aha moment. So I remember I was in the cab, and I was going home, and I remember thinking, well, there's so many stand-ups that have done so well in the sitcom world, because that was my goal, and then with Seinfeld and Roseanne, Butler, and blah, 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 and all those, Ray Romano. And I said, so maybe that's my foray. And I mean, I loved stand-up, but I never thought of doing it. Again, you got to remember, like, I've never really even performed. Like, this was all in my head. So I got backstage, and I saw that the comic strip did an 8-week class. And I went, and it was with D.F. Sweetler, who's still there, who's still teaching us. And I took a class, and actually it was myself and like another girl. So it was almost like I got like a private. And then, the deal at the end, you do a show and blah, blah. Yeah. And then I just more from there, and I took some more writing, and I opened mics, and, it's been a long time. And then 9/11 happened. So I had stopped for like a year because it was like a lot of things. And I had worked down on Wall Street. So it was obviously a very for all of us.
Right.
And then afterwards, I was like, remember like a year later, I'm like, I really miss it. And it wasn't like I was doing it a long time. It wasn't like I was this, I certainly wasn't a pro, but I was like, I really felt the importance of making people laugh and just enjoying those moments because in a split second, I saw a plane hit a building. You know what I'm saying? So you never know.
Yeah.
And, excuse me. So I started to get back into it. And again, it took a long time, and again, the mics and the writing groups and the this and the that and whatever. And it's very up and down, and it's I mean, you have to love this, or else it's too painful. Like, you have to make a decision. If anybody's in this and they're in like sort of like the 5-year mark, you need to make a decision if you want to pursue it. Doesn't mean you can never do an open mic.
Right. But seriously pursue it. Yeah.
No, right. But if you're really going to, do it, if you're at that point, 5 to 7 years, you really should make a decision, because it's a lot of energy. It's a lot of pain.
Yeah.
And not everybody's great. I mean, and as you go along, and as you also, you have to get better. You have to find your voice. You have to know. You're gonna bomb a lot. I mean, we still bomb. I mean, that doesn't.
Yeah. I remember when I started, people would be like, "You need to find your own voice," and I'm like, "I'm using my voice. Doesn't that count for anything?" I'm like, what do you mean? I need to find a voice. What does that mean?
and right, just where you fit, and there's so much to it. I mean, you definitely find out a lot about yourself and your capabilities. And for me, a very big conflict was coming from a very professional environment as a CPA, working on Wall Street in a corporate structure. And I'm not trying to sound like a snob, but I'm
That's
like
a huge lifestyle change.
And it was like, some people are very unscrupulous, and they're just nasty, and they're mean, and they don't want to pay you, and they're just it's very what's the word I'm looking for? It was a culture shock. Culture shock. Right. So, but I loved it a lot. And I did also manage, and this was really, it came from somebody else's idea. I remember one day we were talking, and he said, I'll tell Eric Hansen, he was a manager. I think he helps also Al with Broadway Comedy Club. And I'll never forget, and he said to me, he had a client, Modi, who was very funny, comedian. He goes, Modi does the temples, he's Jewish, and he goes, isn't there like a Greek community that you can tap into? And so I started sort of investigating that. And again, very long story short, I started to tap myself into that market. The only problem is that, the Greek market isn't big. I mean, there's not a lot of Greeks.
I know 3 female Greek comics, I think. Carrie
Karavis, Irene, and you. I think you're the only 3 I know. Right.
And but y'all have been doing it for 20 years or more.
Right. I know them. I love them. They're hilarious. And I've had conversations with them. So I know, I'm sure Carrie won't mind me saying this, but I think Carrie, not that Carrie can't do it, she can do anything. She's amazing. But when you do the Greek shows, usually it's the churches.
Yeah,
So
no, I understand what you're saying. It's
you really have to, and Eileen too, again, I'm not quite sure if she really pursued that or not.
Yeah.
And for me, I mean, I know Carrie is, but I actually am very involved in my church as well. I teach Sunday school, some sort of like.
Okay. So you're very clean.
So it's squeaky clean.
Well, that's what I mean. I remember when I started in comedy, someone, a few very smart people said, if you start clean, it's easier to go dirty. If you start dirty, it's really hard to go clean. And I remember the very first show that I did was my graduation class, and I didn't swear once. And my wife's mom was like, Jess was the only one who didn't swear. And that was it. That was the only time I never swore on stage. One time. The rest of it, I mean, I dropped 38 F-bombs in 16 minutes once, which is 2.4 fucks per minute, but it was it was hysterical and it was appropriate for that show. But if you're working clean, my God, you have so many opportunities.
You do what you have to do. And I didn't mind. And it's funny you said that because D.F. Sweetler, who I took that class with, that was like the first thing that he said.
Work clean.
He said, you can always make clean dirty. You can't make dirty clean.
It's very, very difficult.
And it was like such wise words.
Yes.
So, right. So when you're out at, sort of a down and dirty-ish type of a room, you know that you got to throw some of that stuff out there.
Yeah.
But that's like, as you become a pro and again, you go through this crazy journey, you'll know what you need to adjust.
Oh yeah.
The Greek shows, though, I do some very specific Greek material. So please, it's taken me 15 years to like get to this hour and 15 minutes,
I understand.
So it takes a long time to build it. But it's good. I wish it was a bigger market, but it is, again, it is what it is. But those are better paying gigs. Those are a little bit different, but it's also different. Last few years, I did a bunch of nursing homes, which is like its own thing. You can't curse,
Yep. That's also very difficult. Also very difficult for me.
It's more of an older crowd.
Yeah.
And sometimes they can't hear, and they can't this, they can't that. And so I have to say, I mean, in so many ways, like just getting back to this Corona thing, like with these nursing homes, I think about like how a bunch of them, where I was, and it just totally saddens me. And when I did these shows, these people were so appreciative, and they got a kick out of me, and to me too, like I love, and I'm getting there myself, but these people that lived through the war, and I mean, respect. And so I also wound up after the show, asking them their story, because they've got a ton more stories than you do.
Right.
So, but anyway, so I've done that. I've done so many different. That's what we wind up doing. So it's funny because and I'm sure you get this. People go, "Oh, so what club do you play at?" And the club market is, it's small.
It is small,
and it's really more TV credit people. That sort of like that caliber. I mean, I do privates, and so you just throw it all in there, and it's like a quilt, like a little pattern.
Yeah, it is a quilt. Look, yeah, comedy. Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna go from those kind of terms, it is like a quilt. You just weave yourself in and out of things. Yeah, I struggle with the clean stuff. I'm very blue, and it's but that's my voice,
Right.
But I have a character that I do. Dottie May, and I've recently learned that she also isn't clean. Just mean. But I was trying to read doing story times with Dottie May, and I wear a wig and I put on makeup, and you can't tell it's me. It's really fun, and I talk with a Southern accent, and it's really fun. But it turns out that Miss Dottie ain't that clean either. Like, I'm like, oh. And my feeling is, I was actually thinking about, we're supposed to go back to Florida for the winter time, and I don't know if that's going to happen. But I could, if I wrote a set for her, she would be phenomenal. Like, it has to be a clean set. I can work in Florida. I'm not so dirty that I cannot work in Florida.
Right.
But I have had people walk out on me simply for the fact that I'm gay and no other reason. And that can be misinterpreted as clean or dirty. Oh, well, she's gay, she's dirty. And that's not the case. I tell fun stories, you know. I get very well, but it's true. It does happen, and it's terrible when it happens. I had a group of 8 women walk out on me during the middle of my bit, and I was just like, I know everybody sees this. And, you know, in hindsight, because I'm a dirty comic, not dirty, but in hindsight, I should have been dirty in that moment and said, are y'all going to get my dick? like, I should have said something like, are you interested? Upsetting you? You know, like, because there was nothing that I was doing that was upsetting. People were laughing and having a good time, but not at this particular table. Someone at that table was very upset that I was gay. It was hysterical because she was basically to all of her friends, she's like, I am not going to be here. This is disgusting. And she made every single woman with her get up and leave, which I thought was hysterical. In the moment, I was like, man, that really hurt my feelings.
Right.
You know, and she told the club owner I was disgusting. And I was like, I didn't do anything. Right. And I was like, that's hurtful. That's mean. But that's a very rare thing.
Right.
You know, and I usually am very on my game when it comes to stuff like that. Like, you know, you get 30 seconds to make people like you. And I know that I really get 30, maybe sometimes 15 seconds, you know, to come out with something very funny so that it disarms people and they can relax, especially in conservative areas.
What year are we in? What is like, stop.
It's shocking to me.
Stop the madness.
Yeah, it's really crazy. It's really crazy.
Are you enjoying it? Are you having a good time? It's like,
well, I think one of them was gay. One of those ladies had to have been gay. The ringleader was gay.
Right.
She was very homophobic. She was way too homophobic for that reaction. I was like, that's disgusting. Yeah, that, I mean, I don't know how else to interpret that.
Right.
Other than you're just a hateful, ugly person, I don't know how to interpret that. But
you
that has
know,
happened to me like maybe twice in my career, 2 or 3 times. So, you know, and it's not something that I can hide unless I put on a wig. Then I can hide it very well, which is fun. It's fun because
your characters are great, and especially down in Florida. For what you described, I mean,
well, she has the big Jersey hair.
I love it.
And the big hoop earrings, wears lots of jewelry. So, you know, but she's Southern. Because I can't talk with a New York accent. I just don't know how to.
Where are you from? Are you from?
I'm up in Massachusetts.
So you're
but I'm in Springfield. So I'm not Springfield isn't really part of the whole Massachusetts thing. It's mostly Boston.
Right.
Oh, you're from Boston when you say you're Massachusetts. Oh, you're from Boston. No, I'm from Springfield.
There's a Greek church in Springfield, St. George, next to the Basketball Hall of Fame.
Yes, right near there.
Yeah, I did that. I did that years ago. Yeah, it was really nice up there. Listen, look, we all. Not every audience is gonna like us, and listen, how many times, and you know, obviously you experienced this too, the woman thing, you know, or you just followed a guy that was dirty, you know, there's so many things that happen. You go up there, look, this is me, this is my set. I got hired, you know, people generally hire you, they've seen something of you, they either know you or they've seen your clip or, you know, and you just do your thing. I mean, it's your job, and I mean, you're a pro, so you might not get everybody. You hope I mean, that's always, you want to, but you might not. And
yeah, I noticed. I remember when I was first starting, I was doing a bit. I was at Caroline's, and it was a great show of probably 200 people, maybe 250. And there was one table that wasn't laughing. And I couldn't figure out why that one table wasn't laughing. Like it was that whole table. Just that one table. I'm like, and I just stopped because everybody was looking at that table. It was a weird thing. People were having a great time. And as comics, this, when that one person's not laughing, you're like, what?
Right.
What's wrong with you? Like there's these are great jokes. Why aren't you laughing? Everybody's laughing but you. Why aren't you laughing? So this one table, and I just looked at them and I'm like, laughing won't turn you gay.
Right. I love that.
It's got a great response, and that has stayed in my set forever. So when someone doesn't laugh, that's my go-to line there.
That's a great line. I love that.
And I love moments like that,
Yeah. Look, there's no script,
No.
Every audience is different. And that's the fun part.
And the challenging part.
And the challenging part, Like it's a tough business. It's a tough business for women.
What's one of the worst comedy shows you've ever done?
Well, it's funny. Carol had me do this video for her not that long ago, and I was going through my phone and I found it. So I'll say this one. This was at least I'm trying to think if I was working. I think I was still working at the time. So it's got to be over 10 years ago. There was she's not a comic, but she pretends to be, or she pretended to be. I don't know what happened to this woman now, but anyway, long story short, she moved to like Easton, Pennsylvania, and she said she was having a comedy festival, and she told a bunch of us comics, that she was doing this. I remember driving out by myself. I get out there. There was a bunch of us from the city there. She had us go to this place. It was like a bookstore. There was nobody there. And then she said, "Oh, they moved it to this I don't know, this secondhand store." And we went there, and then we were in this cafe. It was just the girl. She was delusional. So she finally, one of the comics, I won't say who it was, but
after this is over,
I'll say afterwards.
Yeah,
you know her. Called her up, and she's like, "Let me tell you something."
Oh, shit.
That I came out here for whatever the money was. You better come here. You better pay me. Da, 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 da. And she wound up coming down. She gave her half the money. I remember I was like, I'm out of here. I was there for hours with them, and it was so bad, and I was so turned off, and I just couldn't believe it. And again, look, I'm far from perfect, but I'm a very honest person, and even I've got a business background, but I think even if I didn't have the business background that I didn't, I would never treat people that way.
Right.
I don't not pay my bills. I wouldn't, if I tell you I'm going to pay you X, that's what I'm going to do. And I mean, I'm just very above board like that.
Right.
And I expect that from other people. And it was just so horrible. It was just such a horrible, I was like, why would somebody do that? Why would you tell 10 people to come from Manhattan and have this bogus comedy festival that she didn't? It was just that part, that part was awful.
And she's no longer in the scene?
I don't think so. I don't know what happened to her.
We'll have to talk after this.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. but I mean, I've had shows where it was just either dead or, you get up there, it's like late, who's sleeping, who's drunk, who's rowdy,
Yeah.
I've had a bunch of that kind of stuff. I did have one. Usually my Greek shows are pretty good. And obviously, again, as time goes on, you get better. And
right.
Again, probably about 8 years ago or so, maybe 9. I'm probably about 8. And I did a show. As a matter of fact, I had a show in like in outside of Indianapolis, and then I flew to Newark, and I took the train down to Delaware, and I had a show down in Delaware.
Okay.
And I mean, I'll just say it was for the Greek church down there, and because there's only one in Delaware, and it was actually somebody.
This Greek church stuff is your bread and butter.
It is, and I love it. I love it. But anyway, I did this show. So the guy picked me up. He was very nice, very chatty, very this, that. He said, "Oh, I'm a DJ. I'm a this and that." He was the one that brought me there. Anyway, so I get to the church. They bring me on the stage. He decorated the stage. It was like I was in the middle of a terrarium. Remember when he had plastic plants? It was like remember, you're probably too young, but there was a show called Laughing, and there was the guy that said, "Very interesting" from the bushes.
Yeah, very interesting. Yeah, I'm too young. I am definitely too young.
I was like that, right. So it was just such a weird vibe. It was pitch black. I don't know why no lights. It wasn't, I don't know, maybe they got 55 people, 60 people.
Which is actually a decent crowd.
It was in the gym. They were just there was just no energy. I'm not putting them down. It was just like, there was no energy. I was trying. And I personally was like a little tired because I had flown and no matter what I said. So I remember, and then the guy told my friend that, I'm sorry. He was on like an email list of mine, like a year later, and he emails me back. He goes, "Yeah, Happy New Year. Hun, I got to tell you the truth. You're maybe an opener at best." You know?
Oh.
That was it. I was like, "Oh, okay, great."
And he was a booker, or he was
He was the guy. He just was somebody that worked, that was from the church. And so I'll never go there again, obviously, especially after now I told the story. But so that was not one of my prouder moments. So that was uncomfortable. But I've never had anybody. I'm not a. I was thinking of Rich Voss, who's a great comic. You know what I mean? But it's like you don't want to be in the audience and heckle Rich Voss. I'm not that. I don't. You don't
respond well to that.
Right. I mean, if someone's shouting out and they're obnoxious, I don't go there because I feel that's not my job. That's the responsibility of whoever is running the room.
Yeah.
And I did have one other thing. I remember this was up in like the Binghamton area, and I remember two of my friends from high school came. Again, this was over 10 years ago. And we were at this play. It was actually not a bad setting. It was sort of like a really big spread out type of bar. They really had bands there is really what it was set up for. So it was kind of spread out. And these bookers, they were from Florida. I would imagine they were older at the time. So I'm assuming they're not doing this anymore. But anyway, so I'd done some work for them in the very beginning. So they make this big announcement. They came up from Florida to this venue, and they make the announcement, do your cell phones, be respectful, this and that. Okay, so I went up there. They were a little rowdy, but there was a group of people, and they were like super drunk, super rowdy. And this girl starts yelling stuff out, and all of a sudden I hear her go, "I'm going to go up there and kick your ass." And I'm like,
and this is to you?
Yeah. And I'm like, I wouldn't do that if I were you. So she was just obnoxious. And I think I kind of cut my set short. I was just like, and I was looking around for the bookers who were literally like right over there.
And didn't do anything.
And I bring up the headliner, and I was more mad at them than I was at her. And I ran over to them and I go, can I curse?
Yeah. Say whatever the fuck you want.
I'm like, did you fucking hear that? I'm like, she's threatening me. I go, and they're like, "Oh, we didn't know." It's like, you didn't know? You're fucking sitting here. Are you like that deaf? So that I remember I was livid. I was really livid. I mean, again, I wasn't worried, but I didn't. I didn't come there to get threatened. Like, that's not the job.
That's not the job.
With that shit, and that's bullshit.
Yeah.
So I'm very like hard ass about that. Like, if I ever had to work like
that is probably my number one. Besides my dog interrupting this, that is probably my number one pet peeve in a show, is people talking. I mean, I do crowd work. I'm not doing crowd work and I'm doing my sets or my bits. It's really distracting if people just want to sit there and talk. And it's fine. Like, I get it. I get that. But the people who want to be a part of the show
are
really problematic.
Right.
And it's like, what are you doing? Why are you here? Like, if you want to do comedy, go take a class and do it. But don't go into a comedy club and be high on whatever and ruin the show for hundreds of people.
That's why I don't address, because I usually just ignore it, and because then you sort of ruin it for everybody else.
I don't know. You know Jessica Curson, right?
Oh, good.
Okay. I like, she's one of my favorites, and I remember watching her the first time I ever saw her. There were a couple of people that were sitting up front, and they started to heckle her. And she just said, if you keep talking, I'm going to annihilate you. She's like, I have been doing this for 20 years. You will be nothing when you leave here. You understand? And I was like, oh my God, I was dying. It was I mean, she wasn't threatening them, but she was being honest, but it was hysterical the way she did it.
You know, as women, we have to be, sort of alpha male as well. I mean, you have to be tough like that.
I have a problem with being too much alpha male.
You're beautiful.
It kind of backfires on me every once.
Beautiful. We just have to, because people think that they can take advantage, and it's just like, don't let any of this fool you.
Yeah, that's what I say all the time. Don't let this shit fool you.
Exactly. Oh God.
I haven't had any guys try to pick up on me. I'm like, I don't have that issue at all. It's fun. I did have a guy, I do remember this. I did do a show, and a person in the audience came up to me afterwards, and he said, and I was floored by this. He goes, are you really gay? And I was like, what? And he goes, are you really gay? And I said, yeah, I'm really gay. And he goes, oh. He's like, I thought you were just joking. I said, well, I tell jokes for a living as a gay person. And he goes, oh, you're just so beautiful. And I was like, well, sometimes gay people are beautiful. I was like, so maybe I was getting it on. I don't know. Because it's just, I'm not in that arena.
No, you know what? I mean, to his defense, when there is a man that's gay, I'm a little sad because he's out of the pool. You know what I mean? Like, we could have had that. Instead,
yeah.
That
no.
So you got to be who you got to be. Of course. But I'm just saying, like, that's not like I have a very good friend who we were at acting school together, and he's come on my show a couple times. He is so gorgeous. Like, and I've known him for like 15 years. He is so beautiful, and he's married. But he's like, he beautiful. He bakes. He's smart. He's a model. He's on Rachel Ray. He's Mr. Everything. He's just great. He's a great family guy. He's a great brother. He's a great friend. And I have to tell. And honestly, I always say, I've said it to him. It's like, it's just, it's a shame. We always share you. Something I don't know, but the fact that you're not in the pool because there's so many icky men, and I've got friends that I was on the phone with my girlfriend last night who's, still single. And it's like, I don't know what to tell you. You know what I mean? And, so to have that on the, there and not. It's
yeah. It was funny. It was funny. Are you really gay?
Are you really good? I just play it on stage, and
I think I present pretty gay. Like I mean I could get gayer, but I try to keep my hair longer. So
it's very interesting what people say to you. So a little bit on that, on those lines. So when I do the Greek shows, and I'll say this here on your show. So my husband is not Greek.
Okay.
And people will come up to me after and go, "Is your husband really not Greek?" Like as if I made that, and I'm like, "Yeah, no, that's true. Really."
Yeah. My wife is really not a lesbian.
It's like, really? So it's very interesting.
It's really funny how people come up to you after shows. I love it.
Human behavior.
And just real quick, I want to shout out to Susan, Dawn, Lisa, and Christine and Sonia. If you guys are still here, hi. I did a show with Carol. It was her Funny Women of a Certain Age show. And for some reason, I gave my wife a voice, a character voice, which is, it sounds like the joke is, honey, you want to go canoeing? Let's go canoeing. It'll be fun. Come on, let's go. It'll be fun. Let's go canoeing. You want to do that? Come on, it'll be fun. And I had people come up to me at the end of that show and say, does your wife actually talk like that? I mean, it happened in the moment that I started doing that, and I've kept it because it's so hysterical that she's not, I mean, she doesn't talk like that at all, but it was just, it's shocking what people say to you afterwards.
How is your wife, when you do things and say things about it? Because like my husband, he doesn't like it. He's like, oh, you're trashing me again. Oh, you're going to say that. I'm like, listen. And he said something to me a few weeks ago. I go, listen, we've been locked into this house together. This is it. You're fodder. That's it.
You're the joke.
How was she?
Let's see. She has come to pretty much every single comedy show I've ever done.
Oh, that's
maybe -5 in 8 years. So that's a lot of comedy shows. She's come to every single show that I've produced. And I once double booked myself on a produced show that I couldn't be at. So she did that show. So all of my regular people, my regular audiences know her almost better than they know me. So I did try a joke one time, and it's still part of a bit. I just haven't done the joke. We were together for 15 years before we got married, because you couldn't be married federally until about 4 or 5 years ago.
Right.
And so I had said that, the day after our wedding, she's like, you really got to quit smoking. She looked at me, she turned around and she looked at me and she's like, with her green or blue or brown eyes. And I said, right, 15 years, I don't know what color her eyes are. And my audience booed me. We're like, so I thought it was hysterical. She just looked at me with her green or blue or brown eyes. It was just so funny because I love her very much. And she does everything with me. So,
that's so nice.
I don't think I'm never mean about her on stage. I mean, I'll say something. Mostly it's like, we were in the car one day and my wife looked at me and I said to her, do you think I'm still sexy? And she's like, yeah, when you wear clothes. So every once in a while, every once in a while, something that she says will pop up on stage and it's funny because it's to me. But I don't know. I don't think I really do a lot of, do I do a lot of jokes about you besides the canoeing and getting married? No, it's just mostly first person stuff. I mean, I bring her into it because it's very funny.
Right, right.
But I never want to be mean, And I don't.
I mean, I say things, or you exaggerate the truth, or
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, like the voice thing exaggerates.
I mean, we're here to entertain, right? That's
yes.
I think if I were successful, my husband would be okay with it. But the fact that I'm making fun of him and not bringing home.
If you're making money, you can make fun of me, but until then, absolutely not.
Oh, no problem. Oh, listen, the respect level would be a lot higher for what it is.
Yeah. No, gosh, she's starting to come into my bits a little bit more. But it's taken me a while because of those bad experiences I've had, like with, the ladies walking out and calling me disgusting or whatever. And really, I mean, it's one of those things where it kind of like, I don't think people know how things affect you when you're on stage. So it can get kind of, you have to have a tough skin doing this.
Oh,
I mean, I got called a faggot once. And I'm like, oh, could you please get the pronoun right? Like that was my comedic, like, it's not the right word. It's not. And I mean, and that was up here in Massachusetts, and Massachusetts is my bubble, so, I remember being down in, at Caroline's, and this woman went up and she called herself a bull dyke on stage, and I was going after her and her friend. And I looked at her and I was like, okay, you have a bob haircut. You're wearing a dress and you're wearing makeup. Do you even know what a bull dyke is? Because I have to go after you. And based on your comment, I am that, So it's, I stopped listening to comics for a while after that because it really fucked with my head. Like, because I was fairly new and I'm like, I can't listen to people go up on stage. I don't I just stay in my zone, just work on my own set. Don't worry about what other people are doing, because some people sucked and some people didn't, right. So the early days were much harder. So yeah, I mean, she's starting to make her way into more of my bits, and they're my favorite.
It evolves, it all evolves over time, and you write, I'm sure, all the time, and things are different. Things what you said 10 years ago are different what you say now. I mean, now we've got all this Corona stuff going on,
Yeah.
So a little bit about that.
I don't think anybody's going to want to hear Corona jokes after this when the club's open.
Yeah, I know. But I mean, just sort of like the not as much the Corona itself, but just sort of like the things that have happened.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Because this is like really unprecedented. But I told my husband
it'd be mostly about like, how about those Red Sox, right? It'd be like, well, how about that Corona,
right?
And move on. Like I wouldn't even. That's.
A few weeks ago, it was like a Friday night, and I said to my husband, "Look, we have to have some sense of normalcy. So it's the weekend. Let's." Like, look at it like a weekend. Let's do something fun.
Uh-huh.
So either we make whoopee or we give each other our first tattoos.
Those were the choices.
I said, pick your poison. And so needless to say, I now have a tattoo of Cypress on my ass. But anyway, I like that kind of stuff.
That's so funny. Yeah. That's hysterical. I once saw a tattoo, and I love this tattoo. It was on a woman shaved her area, right? And it shaved it so good, but only part of it. And it was a little stick figure with a lawnmower, and it had little hairs. It was great.
That's awesome.
Yeah, there is no normalcy in this. It's very difficult to find the normalcy. So,
the thing is, I mean, you just don't know when it's going to end. Like,
are you downtown Manhattan? You're
on the Upper East Side.
Upper East Side. Okay. So you're near the comic strip in that area.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right near there, near Dangerfields. As a matter of fact, I was just.
I think once people start coming back to the city, right? Like so many people left.
Right.
And they went to Florida or something. And they stayed in Florida, but now they're going to start coming back.
A lot upstate, Hamptons, yeah,
Long Island.
I have two sisters. One lives in Jersey, one lives right near me. And the one that lives near me has two daughters. And one of the daughters went to the Hamptons with one of their friends. She's been there for 6 weeks. So every week my sister's like, we're going to come get you. And she's having a great time. But like, she's a beautiful house, pool, it's great. And so my sister finally put her foot down. She's like, you have to come. Actually, what happened was it was like when schools closed. So she would go there for like a week. And then we had that real lockdown. And then they didn't want people from the city going to Long Island. And, then the Long Island got it and all this other stuff. So it was sort of like evolved over time. Right. But this week, we're like, hopefully we're on a little bit of a downswing. My sister's like, I'm coming to get you. You've been there for 6 weeks.
How old is she?
She's 12.
Oh, geez. Okay.
So, so my sister and I were just talking before, and she was saying how my brother-in-law said something like, "Oh, we should have just went to Hilton Head and this and that." My sister's like, "Well, what were we going to do there?" And this whole point was to say, when this first happened, I myself was like, "Wow, I wish we had a place to go." My mother-in-law lives in Florida. I guess if we thought quick enough, we could have, gotten in the car and done that. But we, it all kind of happened kind of fast, and you didn't really know when it was going to end.
Right.
But now, and then in the first week or two, like I kind of wish we weren't here.
Right.
But then afterwards, I'm like, I'm glad. I mean, and knock on wood, as long as we stay healthy, of course. But I'm glad we didn't, because if you go someplace, you've just packed your suitcase and that's it. You don't have your stuff. You can't. So if you really want to do these projects and this and that, I mean, you can only bring so much with you. So I'm really glad we didn't go. So my sister was telling me about her girlfriend who went up to Plattsburgh. And she says now, she just spoke to her, they're going nuts. They're, she's got a boy and a girl, they're all fighting. They've completely run out of things to do. I mean, the kids are in school and Zoom and whatever. But so all this to say, even my friends that are like out in the Hamptons and stuff like that, I mean, that's not their main home.
Right.
It's like that was great for the first couple of weeks. But when you're going on the 7th, 8th week, that means like you're away for 2 months.
Right.
And it's not like you're traveling and you're sightseeing and you're like
you can't do anything.
Right. So we've been here. And I go out, I wear the mask. I mean, I really did the first few weeks. I did a pretty good. We really didn't go out unless we kind of had to. I went to the supermarket a few times out in Westchester and stuff. We wore the mask, the whole bit. We cleaned everything.
Right.
And now, I mean, we're still not like going out and gallivanting and, kind of going out unnecessarily. Although I have to say, I mean, like, I'm no doctor, but, to a certain degree, you do need to go outside because you do have to build your immune system up. I mean, it's not good to always be inside.
Right. Right.
Aside from the fresh air and the sunshine and all this. Now, the only other thing here is the weather really has been very gloomy.
It's been awful.
So it's not like, I mean, you got cabin fever, but it's not like you're missing this great day.
Right.
But in token, it's like you can't even go out and get any sunshine because there isn't any sunshine. So it's been very weird. It's been sort of like a weird type of thing. But I think, I don't know. I have to say, and I want to ask you actually your opinion too. The state of comedy itself, I mean, I don't need to be a pessimist. I'm just looking at everything. I'm looking at it honestly from my accounting head, not from my comedic head, because my comedic head, everything.
I'm with you.
But, I think obviously the process here is going to be very slow. They're going to do certain businesses first. I'm not really sure quite what those businesses are going to be. And I would imagine because there are, I mean, listen, wealthy people aren't hurting, but there are people that had to cut back And and maybe, you know, I think the first thing on their list is going to be to go out to a comedy show.
I don't think people have discretionary income to do it.
Exactly. That's the term. That's exactly it. So, you know, it's going to be a slow, you know, a very slow progression. And so that's one, is the economics of it.
Yeah.
Who is the priority in terms of priority for
way down on the list
and for people. And then three, I'm not quite sure how long social distancing is going to go. And I know for me too, I do, as I'm sure you do, we do fundraisers. Fundraisers are all about getting as many people as possible to raise money for whatever it is that you're doing. So it's like, what's the point of having a fundraiser? Or they're not going to be able to afford us. They'll just do their fundraiser in another way, you know, maybe without entertainment. Maybe they'll put on a DVD. I don't know, but
yeah, fundraisers are basically how I got started. In December, I opened up a little comedy club for toy drive for foster kids, and I got a very real lifetime experience on what it was like to open up a club and run a club, and, you know, like how much is involved in that. And I would say that if in a club situation, if the social distancing is still in effect, or you have to stay the 6 feet away, or there's, you can only have maybe 25 to 50% capacity, you're screwed for a comedy club.
Right.
And it's hard. I mean, it's like we've both done smaller shows, like maybe 20, 25 people. That's fine. But if those 20 or 25 people are spread out in a 100-person room, that's going to be really fucking weird. Right. So that doesn't feel good to me.
Right.
I'm kind of thinking it really depends on how I think this whole thing's been mismanaged. That's just my personal opinion. I'm not a fan of how it's been managed, but I'm not a fan of the person that's managing it or not managing it. And I love Rachel Maddow. She did a thing last night about the lettuce, the romaine lettuce a couple years ago, and how the CDC went out and they tracked every head of lettuce, or so they traced it to the plant that it originated from, right? So, and I think it was somewhere, Arizona. Where was it? Arizona. In Arizona. And so California romaine lettuce was okay, right? But everybody was making jokes about the romaine lettuce. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
But they traced the CDC. I mean, they traced it back. They contained it, and it was done. And in the simplest of terms, and how she said this last night, I was just like, that's brilliant. If that's what they have to do with this virus, right? They have to figure it out. Who has it? Who doesn't have it? Who has immunity to it? Who has been, where is it? How is it being contained? What's going to stop it? Because nothing's stopping it at this point. You get sick and you're lucky and you live. You get sick and you're not lucky and you die. Right. I mean, it's very black and white. And like you were saying it when we were talking when we came on, like, I'm a heavy woman. I also smoke, which is a really bad thing and stupid. But that puts me at extreme disadvantage. So I'm not leaving my house. Like maybe if I want to start walking and getting healthy, that might be a good time, shit like that. But then you have people I have a friend who has type 1 diabetes from when she was a child. Not her fault. She's not making bad life choices. Right. Right. So, but her immune system, or people who have lupus, their immune system, whatever, anybody who's immunocompromised. So I don't know that comedy is like way up here, but I don't know that it's not, because I also know people desperately need to laugh. And so it's kind of really hard for me to figure out. I think it's going to be very late 2021 when things get really back to normal for us.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. I just think that there's way too many obstacles that we have to get through before our profession, starts to feel normalcy. I mean, look, the famous people will be fine. You know, they either have enough money or they'll find other ways, or you know, once they start to go back, maybe they'll be the first people want to go see. But you know, for people like us that are working comics that are, you know, not as famous, it's you know, it's definitely going to be more difficult. And I completely agree with you about the time frame. I think it's because we're already, you know, we're not quite mid 2020, but it's going to take a lot. It's just going to take a lot. I mean, look, okay, so this is what I personally think. This is just my feeling. You know, I'm always open.
Go for it.
Personally, I'm open to listen to anything. I really am. I think it's important that we hear each other.
Right.
I think because this virus is so severe, it attaches to clothes and to metal, and you know, it's like more than any other flu. I mean, these flus have been bad.
Right.
These flus have gotten each year. That's a fact. I just don't think it was an accident. And I think that either it was in this, whether it's this particular lab or, I mean, you know, it originated someplace in China. I think we can all agree. Okay? I said this on my podcast. This has nothing to do with Chinese people or Asian people. Get your head out of your ass and stop being ignorant, okay?
Right.
It's about whoever these people are that did it.
Well, it started in the markets.
To happen to be there. So either it was in some lab where they're fucking around with bioterrorism and something went awry. Okay. And it got out on the loose, or possibly it was done on purpose. Who knows? You know, again, so we're talking about sick minds, right? It's just like anything with terrorism. It's just like the 9/11. You could never put your mind in their mind because you don't think that way.
Right.
So you know, that part wouldn't surprise me. Having it be sort of like a flu because they've gotten bad and they've mutated and it's sort of like scientifically has evolved this way. Again, I'm no expert. It certainly could be. I'm just telling you my gut feeling that I think that it was a lot more manipulative than just that it happened, you know, that it grew into this thing.
Right.
But definitely it seems like along the way, there were a lot of people in charge that dropped the ball, starting with where it originated from.
Yeah.
And then don't forget, it went to Italy, I believe, first. So there was all that infestation and all those, you know, poor people that got it. Yeah. And then got itself over to Seattle to that first nursing home. So
it was actually in California first.
Pardon?
It was actually in California first.
Yes, that's right. Now they know that. Right,
yeah,
right.
No, they knew that. I remember that was the first case I ever saw on the news was in California. And then the first community was up, like, I think it was near maybe I want to say northern, somewhere between Sacramento and San Francisco. What? By the base, San Diego? That was the first non-travel related community spread that they picked up on. And from there it went to Seattle. But I mean, closing the borders, that's a great thing, but you have to close all of them. And you would have had to known before that because apparently this is like has a 4-week incubation period, 4 to 6 weeks or something like that, where you're asymptomatic, but it's communicable.
Right.
That's
right. But I think those are some facts that weren't known. Like, again, I'm not sticking up for anybody. You know what I mean? But
yeah, I hear you.
It's always, yes, we can all be Monday morning quarterbacks, but I think there was so much information that we didn't know then that we know now. So, you know, we have to just deal with it as we go. But very disappointing. I'm a native New Yorker. I've lived here my entire life in the city. very disappointing at how it was handled here, and finding out.
Disappointed with? Who are you more disappointed with, the governor or the mayor?
I hate the mayor. We all hate the mayor.
Okay, because that's what I
right.
I was shocked when he didn't shut down the school.
Right or left, you hate this. He's so listen. The homeless situation has been going on before this. Now it's even worse.
Right.
And I'm going to tell you something, because of a few things, because of obviously online shopping, which is just one thing, and rents, and it becoming very, very hard for small businesses to do business in this city,
right.
Taxes, whatever. There's been a lot of boarding up before all this. This was happening before, and now we look like, like a Detroit, in the 80s or something, like it was like boarding up. I mean, it's sad. It's so sad.
Right.
The mayor is he is wasted. This city, we've had an economic boom. Listen, when Wall Street does well, New York does well.
Right.
That's a direct correlation.
Right.
When Wall Street's in the tanker, this whole place is in the tanker.
Right.
We've had an economic boom because the stock, the market and capital markets have done well, had taxes, jobs, blah, 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 blah. Business has done well. So on his watch, he's made so much revenue. Okay. And we pay taxes up the yin-yang. It's insane.
Okay.
He's mismanaged this money so badly, so poorly. I mean, you are the CEO. That's what you are. And he's all about whatever he thinks his agenda. You know what his agenda is? It's not. He doesn't. If I thought for a second that he cared about people that were suffering and low income, I would probably have a little more sympathy from him. But it's not. And you know what proved that? When he ran for president, because that was really what the agenda was.
Right.
Ego in his mind, that's really what he wanted. And
the egos are pretty insane.
That he had the balls to get on that stage with those 16 other people, governor, senator, all those people that were a bazillion more times qualified, whether you like them or not or whatever. Right. It was incredible. And to sit and be so pompous was that, to me, was like, that shows you what kind of a person that he was. So everything was the blame game. And we were, and again, I mean, you don't know this at the time, but apparently we were offered respirators, back when Obama was president, and all this stuff, and they've turned a lot of this stuff down. Was a shame. I mean, we pride ourselves in New York of having the best medical.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
This is the worst place to be, because of lack of capacity and lack of equipment and all of that stuff. And thank God, what I was so proud of was when Cuomo, when he got on, he said, we don't have masks. This was like in the, like in the earlier moments. And we need masks. And there were businesses on Twitter like, Governor Cuomo, get in touch with us. We're going to make them. We're going to make them. This designer, Christian Siriano, he's like, I'm ready. I've got everybody.
That was really cool.
Because that's what makes, I'm really getting on my soapbox here, but that's what makes this country, the people, not the politicians. They're all, honestly, all of them, I can't anymore. They're all out for themselves. They're living a bubble. They'll always get paid, right? Yeah. They'll never not have health care. They'll never not get taken care of. I mean, it's become like a kingdom, and I can't stand it anymore. And so I'm really, it's about all, but who stepped up to the plate? People stepped up to the plate. Healthcare workers stepped,
people who had sewing machines, private citizens stepped up to the plate.
Exactly.
Make masks for people.
That's what makes this country great. Not politicians, and I'm going to tell you something. Years ago, when I had first quit, I did some work on Fox because they liked my finance background and comedy background. So like some shows, this and that. Anyway, so I was on a few of the panels and all this stuff. I just really tried to really bring a little bit more.
Oh yeah, no, did you do Red Eye?
I did Red Eye. I did Hannity 3 times.
Oh God.
I did. I did some of the business shows as well. As a matter of fact, I was on this one show where they did the show at 4:00 after the closing bell.
Okay.
So it was called Bulls and Bears. But anyway, and I remember the first time I did Hannity, there was he was a senator. He just got elected senator. I think it was Utah, Jason Chavez.
Okay.
And I remember he's getting his hair and I remember going to myself, what the fuck is he on here for? Like he's a congressman. He's a congressman for 2 seconds. It was just a vibe I got. And that's when it dawned on me.
The pompous vibe?
I got it. Just a vibe that these politicians just want to be on TV. They want to be actors, but they don't have that talent.
Right.
So they have this particular aptitude, and they went this route.
Right.
And if you think about it, right, like because when I'm probably older than you, but when we were growing,
I doubt that we're that far apart.
Okay, when we were growing up,
I do know what the laugh-in was.
Okay, good. We were growing up, you just saw I realized that this is the other problem, is that obviously we didn't have as much, sources and channels and all this stuff. But, when you saw a politician, they were being interviewed for something serious, and that was sort of it. And then because there's so many different shows that they're on, and now they're on late night shows and this show and that show, whatever, they're like celebrities. They are like actors. Yeah. So all this my big bloviating to say is that they're not what they were really meant to do, to serve us, to work for us. They've become celebrities. People kiss their ass. They call them sir. It's like, you work for us. I'm not saying I'm not going to treat you like shit, but right. I should be kissing your ass. And why are you getting all those? I still want somebody to explain the whole, why they get that health care and we don't. Like, how is that possible? How is that possible?
It is really strange.
If you're elected for one day, you get health care for the rest of your life. How does that happen?
Right.
Insane. That's insane.
Right.
So
but none of the arguments really work. If you're going to get health care, you don't get health care unless every American gets health care. Right? Like, those arguments don't work with them because they don't care, but they don't give a shit. Just going back to what you said, well, we have what we need. So you figure it out. You little people figure it out.
Or, again, I have a business background, so I'm very pro capital markets.
I understand.
I'm okay if we had a real, supply demand, a real economy on insurance. We should be able to choose from hundreds of insurance companies.
But why can't we?
Why can't we?
That's right.
They're all in bed because they're all in bed together.
Yeah.
All of them.
I really hope that if anything comes out of this, this has been very difficult for a lot of people, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And with and I remember in the beginning, it's just like, it's not even as bad as the flu. The flu kills 50 or 60,000 people a year. All right. So now we're up to 60,000 in about a month, 5 weeks, which is staggering to think about. I've had people that are sick, and I've known people that have passed away, and and they all passed away alone. If they were, it's sad. Oh, and then you think of people, the racial divides and the racial inequality. I think Trump was trying to pass deregulate another LGBTQ bill during all of this. When you see stuff like that, when you see it, it's glaring in your face that these systems are fucked up. right? The healthcare systems are fucked up. The insurance is fucked up. The racial disparities, the socioeconomical disparities are just, they're really bad, and they're gaping wide open. You know, like if you like, you know, it's just like you just took a knife and you cut the center of America open, and it's just bleeding now. It's just bleeding everything. It's bleeding money. It's bleeding people. You have to fix that. Someone has to fix that. I'm all for capitalism, but when you do it at the expense of other people and human lives, it feels really shitty. I don't know how they're going to fix that, because my question is how has this been mismanaged so badly? You know, it's very difficult for me to kind of like comprehend and process and absorb, because there's so much of it, and the 24/7 news kills me. Going on Twitter kills me. Right. So I like doing these shows. I like having conversations about it. I don't care if people are Republican or Democratic. I think the majority of people are fucking human beings that give a shit.
Right.
Regardless of what their politics are.
Right.
You know?
I'm all about I'm all about being a good person.
Yeah.
I don't care where you come from, or this, or that, or whatever, what you do. Be a good person. Be good. Person. I'm a big accountability person. I really am. Don't blame, don't this, don't that. Well, you know, and you get to a certain point, it's like you're the grown up. Unless you are sick, you've got an illness, you've got, you know, I mean, I get that. We have to be compassionate and all that. But, you know, you've got to be able to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
And hopefully there's the opportunities for that to be, you know, to be there. And things are definitely out of control.
It's weird.
And I do feel, and again, this is right. I'm glad we agree. I mean, it's not left or right. It's just that I think a lot of these politicians they're way out of hand. They've gotten way too much power.
It's just bizarre.
And they're making really bad decisions, and the decisions are for whatever their special interest groups are, and it has nothing to do with us. And that's
I love Susie Orman. Are you a fan of hers?
I've listened to her. Yeah, she's
her motto, and I've adopted this since I was probably in my 20s, is people first, then things, then money. You know, right. Like put people first, then money. Right. Well, people first, then money. Let's just do it that way. Because there's enough money. Clearly there's enough money, because you have just managed to print out how much? $4 trillion worth of money. Right. I mean, clearly there was enough money to be able to do this, to fix the shit before it hit the fan. Right. So it's going to cost more money now to fix this than it would have in the beginning, just to make sure that things were in place to help people. And I mean, I was in the military, I was in sports. You're only as good as the weakest link.
Right.
Right. So if you're in that team environment, if you have a teammate environment, and even when like directing children's theater, I was always like, you're only as good as the weakest person. So if you see someone having a hard time, help them, bring them up, build them up. It doesn't I get really crazed about the whole, like, well, you know, just people want to live off of Medicare. Well, at this point, that's going to pay the bills. You know, so if it's so complicated, and it's so fucked up. Like, I can't even wrap my head around how anybody can fix this shit.
I know. And it's been going on for a long time.
Decades.
Thank you. It's not just like one person, one administrator.
It's not just one person. It's decades, but the whole has been blown wide open.
Of damage. And look, I going back to humans, I think that there are a lot of very smart, brilliant, I should say, people that are working on this. That's what gives me confidence that, you know, we'll get through it. And you know what? I really do hope that it is something that we already have, you know, that you know, people have taken already, and whatever that combination of things are, you know, but whatever it is, I mean, I have faith that we'll ultimately get to the bottom of this. This just, I mean, this was very unusual. I mean, it happened so quickly and it hit us hard. It breaks my heart about the nursing homes and about people. And just to get back to, I'll just talk about my state, just that's what I've been concentrating on. There has been absolute neglect in these. There's something smells. Something is not right. It's more than just, people over 80 are vulnerable. Okay, because I'm on Facebook as well. I see, every day. It's like an obituary.
Oh, it's awful.
I've got a lot of people on there. My Uncle Gus, my uncle this, my this. That. They were fine. They were. I mean, you just because you're 80 and then this isn't necessarily have to be a death sentence unless, again, you really, you do have something that makes you very weak.
Right.
There's something, I don't know what it is.
Well, I mean, if you take
in those nursing homes.
If you take the nursing homes as your example, right? I hate going into nursing homes because they smell. I don't think the staff is always there to really help out. They don't get the best rap in the first place.
Right.
I don't think they have so when Steph's grandmother passed away about, what was that, 10 years ago? About 10 years ago, she was in a very nice nursing home. She had a stroke, and she was paralyzed and couldn't speak for a whole year before she passed away. And it was the first, so I'll be 39.
What a coincidence.
What a coincidence, right? I know. It was the first time in, I don't know, 39 years that I walked into a nursing home that didn't smell like piss. Right? So I have been in places, and I get it that there's a lot of incontinence and stuff, but I also get that sometimes people don't give a shit. For example, I worked in human services. I worked with kids when I was younger, and I was a residential counselor, and a lot of people would say they didn't really care about the kids. It was just a glorified babysitting job. It was a paycheck, you only had to have a high school degree to do it, but I really cared about kids, and I really cared about their development and their daily living skills, and where they came from, and things that had happened to them that made them act and react the way that they were, right? Like, that really mattered to me. But to watch other people not give a flying fuck about those kids, and to know that that's just one tiny system, right? You have, my wife is a teacher. She's out right now because she's been hurt, but our best friends are teachers. They're working their asses off, and they're not getting any support. And they're having to pay for school supplies to get their kids in. That's one tiny system that's huge, right? That's completely failing. And why does it fail? Like, I don't know why I have this in my head, but I think it was back in either the late 80s or early 90s, because I'm 39. They brought the lottery. Remember back in the 80s, mid 80s, because I was 5 in the mid 80s.
You always get the math right.
I was getting the math right. I love math. I could have been a CPA. I love math. I think back in 84, 85, 86, somewhere around there, having the lottery was a big deal. I don't know if you remember this.
School
and just the general lottery, where they did the mega lottery, the state lotteries, and they would pull, and every night people would go out and they'd buy their tickets. They sold that concept on education. Yep. They were going to fund education. Yep. And where the fuck has that money gone?
Thank you.
That's That's the shit. And that's been since the 80s. That's been since like 84, 85-ish. So since 84 or 85, shit's just been rolling downhill because that's what shit does.
Right.
But the people that it affects are the young people that are in the school systems, right? So whatever systems you had in place there, and then I just don't understand, where's the money going? I always like, just follow the money. Follow the money, because like you said, there should be hundreds of choices of insurance that everybody should either be out, either one, there should be hundreds of choices, or make it just one choice, Medicare for all. I don't give a flying fuck as long as people can get insurance and not have to pay $10,000 a month to see their doctor.
Exactly.
And on top of it, then, Medicare has the big donut hole. Like, where the fuck is that money? Why do you call it a donut hole? It's not, what the fuck is a donut hole? It's very strange to me, because you have all of these things in place, and it's all supposed to go towards education, and it's all supposed to go towards, rebuilding highways and infrastructure, and our infrastructure sucks. And I remember November 9th, and I was just like, I was up at 3:00 in the morning when Trump got elected, and I was like, holy shit. And he looked stunned, because I was watching it in real time, and I was like, this feels so bad to me, right? And I had the show the next night with Robin Shaw, and I was like, we can't do politics tonight. It's so fucking divisive. It's so divisive. And I thought for myself, for that 1 second when he came out and he's like, I'm gonna do the best job I can. It was something to that effect, and he seemed really sincere for that 1 second. And I was like, oh, please be sincere about this. Please be sincere. Like, please just fucking be sincere and say you're going to do the best job, and please get really good people around you. Because when I don't know something, I want to surround myself with really good people.
Correct.
Right? I want to surround myself with people who know way more than I know, because I know I'm going to need help.
Right.
I want to surround myself with good, positive comedians.
Right.
Who I enjoy, who are good people, and who, if I need to, I can call and say, am I doing this right, or am I really fucking this up? I don't need egotistical fucking dickheads telling me that I'm a piece of shit or treating me like a piece of shit. Like that kind of stuff. I'm going to surround myself with the best people, and not people who are like dominant and egotistical, but people who are caring and compassionate, and they want to share and they collaborate. Like, that's important to me. Right. So I was just like, when he got elected on that night, I was just like, please just deal with infrastructure. Please just go straight after the infrastructure. Don't do anything. Just fix the fucking highways. Because you know what? That could make you good. Like, just don't talk. Don't say anything. Stop doing this shit right here. And just fix the highways. It's very frustrating, because, it didn't start with him, but he blew the fucking hole in it.
Right.
Like, there is just a gaping hole in this shit, and I don't know how anyone's going to fix it.
Right.
I feel bad for the next president.
I am. Humans
have to fix it. But I don't even know how we.
I'm not. That's why you can't. You can't rely on just government. I
agree with that.
I know we're not complimenting Trump, but one of the things that I did like that he did from the very beginning, and I'm not saying that another president wouldn't have done this, but he did call in the private sector, and he got, he rallied everybody around to make this and make that. And I think that, I was happy and he did that like immediately, which I thought was a good call. You know what I mean? To start manufacturing things, and we need stuff. We need equipment. We need respirators. We need this.
Did he actually manufacture anything?
Well, but those jobs have been going out forever. You know what I mean? They've been farmed out, forever. My grandmother was a seamstress.
Okay.
And I remember going shopping with her, and she would look at the clothing, and she would look at the label to see if it had the union label.
Oh, wow.
She would never buy clothes
without even
not made in the U.S. Now, at some point, she had no choice.
Right.
Because now everything is. And but I've over time. Same thing with a car. She would not buy a foreign car. My grandmother, by the way, came from Cyprus when she was 13. Became a citizen. She took patriotism very seriously.
Right.
So she would not buy an American car. She would not buy a foreign car. We were all buying Toyotas and Hondas
and Nissan.
They also make some here, of course, but she was like, not. And
Oh, I remember when the Honda Civic came out. It was the cutest little car.
But that's everything. The electron. Listen, but it's also consumer demand. We didn't want to pay $1,000 for the 36-inch TV. We want to pay $250 for it. The same thing with the clothes, right? We didn't want to, it would just, everything comes down to money.
Yeah.
So, but this is going to be very interesting because China has a mark on them now. Regardless, they have a mark. They have a mark on them. And the other thing too is, listen, it's still a communist country. It just loves capitalism, but that capitalism isn't shared with their people. It's shared with, you think it's bad. This is nothing.
It's almost starting to feel like the United States, isn't it? We're starting to feel like that a little bit.
Right. I'm saying, but you think it's bad here. There's no comparison. Okay.
No comparison. Right. Exactly.
So I also believe that a lot more people died there.
Oh, I agree with you.
We are aware. Listen, what, billions of people there, a few million missing. No one's going to know, unfortunately. So, that's a whole other, we're not getting
started off with lies.
Yeah, we're not getting the right information there. But I think that this is going to hurt them. I think they've wanted to be a world currency for a very long time. And again, I'm not defending him. I'm not defending him. But I kind of understand. I think if this is the logic, which we don't know, but I kind of
hard to tell.
I know it is. No, listen, I'm with you. He's all over the place, but I kind of understand why at the moment that he wasn't sort of trashing China right away in terms of really, because he knows he's got to get information. Plus, they still make things, you know what I mean? So it's not like we're going to cut this off tomorrow and then all of a sudden,
you know.
So I'm just kind of, but I really do hope that somehow, somewhere, we'll get to at least the bottom of this, and especially in this in particular. But yeah, it's been happening for a really long time, and
I just want to know where the lottery money goes from the 80s.
Listen, I
you remember that?
I totally do, and I'm so glad you brought that up because people forget.
People forget. I'm just saying, I just remember it being this big, big deal, and it's always voted in. It's always voted in, and people voted it in because they want their kids to get a good education and hopefully pay a little bit less so they can save a little bit more. There's always that angle to it. And then it's so if that's what happened, and gazillions of dollars have been made from
look at all the
money that has been made from the lottery. We should have Venetian casinos should be the fucking schools.
Right.
They should be made of marble with the amount of money that has been made off of the lottery that goes to these kids. Kids should be getting their computers, their books. And I'm not talking I'm talking any kid should be able to go to school for free based on the amount of money that has been made from the fucking lottery. And the fact that people are so afraid of people being educated and and being able to think critically for themselves, and how that scares them is very frightening to me. Yeah. It's that is not elitism. That is just being able to think for yourself. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that,
Right.
I don't know. I get
right. No, accountability and being responsible for yourself. You can't rely on the government to take care of you again, unless it's a severe situation. I mean, that I get.
This is pretty fucking severe.
Now it is. No,
I mean, it's pretty fucking severe. It didn't used to be like this.
right.
So it's weird. It's really fucking, I just want to know where the lottery money went. I'm really stuck. I have been stuck on that for the past few years. I'm like, I'm not crazy, right? Like my parents fucking voted for that shit. I was young enough. I was 3 or 4.
Story, and you're sticking to it.
I know when I was born. I was like 2. I was not even born when yeah. And I just remember that. I remember it going towards the schools. And I'm like, I don't know where it went. Because I know my high school hasn't changed that much.
It's just, listen, the New York City schools, I was telling you, my nieces, so when this whole thing, so the mayor shuts down the school, and he was a little late to the game.
He was really late to the game.
Right, so he finally shuts down.
Let me just say this. So I day trade.
Oh, girl after my own heart.
Okay, so I was well aware of shit that was going on before it was public, because I was in the market with this shit, and I was like, oh, some stuff is happening here, right? And so I started researching the companies that were going to be doing the testing and stuff like that. So yeah, so so go ahead. I just want to let you know so that we have that in common a little bit.
No, I love it. So
I will preface this by saying I'm not a great day trader, but I do have really, really good moments.
It's hard.
It's very difficult to do. So it's not an easy thing. Okay.
So the schools were absolutely not set up for any kind of online schooling between equipment. I mean, a lot of teachers, they didn't even have laptops. They weren't trained on this. It has not been good. And I got to tell you, I'm worried about these kids. For the kids that are very, very bright and they love school, they'll be fine. I mean, at the end of the day, They'll be fine. They get it. I mean, you're a teacher, this. But for the ones that either have behavioral issues or learning issues, or they need that structure, this is going to be really tough. And the mayor said something about not sure what September is going to bring. So I think because we've all resolved to the fact that school's out, like they're not going back to classroom for here. Right. But we were sort of expecting like September. By September we should at least be back in business. And I don't know. That's what he's saying. And And by the way, I don't know where he's getting his information from. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know where anybody gets their information from.
Exactly.
It's so fucked up. Like it just. You know what? Just do your fucking job. Just go from the top down. Disseminate the fucking information so that everybody knows what's going on, where it's coming, and that put us all on the same fucking page.
Right. I mean, just tell us what you know now. Do you know what I mean? Because there's lies. And again, I don't know, you don't know, but we hear everything from, oh my God, it's going to come back. Twice as many more people are going to die. Oh, it's nothing. Oh, it's like the flu. You hear all these different things, and I try to just sort of process what's happened already. Do you know what I mean? And what we're in now. Like, how does it feel now? Like right now, thank God, we seem to be on a little bit of a downswing. You know what I mean? In terms of the number of deaths, and again, not to discount anybody's.
No, I got you.
If we're doing that number thing, which makes it feel very inhuman. But, we're on a downswing. The ICUs aren't where they were. We're not where we were a few weeks ago, thank God. So that's good. That's a good thing. And then hopefully, again, I think as time goes on, too, I mean, we are going to make more progress science-wise and in the lab and in medicine. Yeah. We're going to make
I know that one company had developed a vaccine that had 100% rate that was good, but they only tested 6 people. Their stock doubled today. I mean, it's press releases, a pump and dump, but that has some, I mean, the hydroxychloroquine and Z-Pak stuff they used on veterans, and 28% of the veterans died, and it was a sampling of 300 veterans. So there's a long ways to go.
Yeah.
Before this shit gets cleared up, and you still have to do it safely.
Right.
You know, like, I mean, I guess you could use veterans as guinea pigs because, you know, that's what we are sometimes, but I think we have been that for a while.
Don't listen. I mean, I probably preaching to the choir, but I've done a few veteran hospitals, but just in overall, I mean, you got to take care of the vets. I've been involved in, I got involved with the David Lynch Foundation a few years back, in particular, the section where they taught veterans transcendental meditation.
Oh, wow.
For PTSDs. And it's been very, very successful. I learned to do TM myself, which I highly recommend to everybody.
What is it called?
Transcendental meditation. It's meditation. It's a form of meditation. It's very easy to do. You do it twice a day, 20 minutes. It's definitely changed my life.
Right.
And but I'm very pro vet. If people are going to sign up, go out there, put their ass on the line, you got to take care of them regardless of whatever it is. And for some of these people that have really seen bad combat to come back.
Yeah, they're fucked up.
And you just give them pills and, you know, tell them to come see the therapist once. That's not good enough.
They're getting better. They're getting better, but it's still pretty fucked up.
Yeah.
I know 10 years ago it was really much worse. Yeah.
So there's no excuse for that. And my dad was a Marine.
Semper Fi.
Yeah. And he had a few of his brothers. One was in the Army, one was a paratrooper, and one was in the Navy. He went to Annapolis. So.
Oh wow. Okay.
So we got some other, so we got.
Yeah.
I just support the mill. You have to support the mill. You should.
I'm a big fan.
And you got to take care of people that do that because that's beyond.
Yeah.
That's just beyond. So thank you. What did you do exactly?
I was in the Army.
In the Army. That's awesome.
Yeah. I started out in the Army band and I ended up in helicopters.
Wow.
One that's the difference between thinking you're straight and knowing that you're gay.
I love that. Oh my God.
I went in blowing wood. I came out with the socket in my hand.
That's awesome. That's so fun.
I actually need to write that down. That's fucking funny.
Totally.
I'm so glad that we had this talk. We could probably go for another like 45 minutes.
You're amazing. You're adorable. I love you.
The feeling is very mutual. This is fun, right? Like you just sit and have.
You're a very good host too. You're great.
I appreciate that because this is all very new to me.
Keep the conversation going. Now you're a natch.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me, and I can't wait to meet you in person.
I know I can't. Well, maybe Carol Montgomery will get us on a show together.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah,
I'm gonna just let this run for a second. If you can do me a favor and just hang out, I'm gonna just play us out, and then I still have to get that lady's name.
Okay, no
worries. From the comedy festival, I haven't forgotten.
Absolutely.
You said you would tell me afterwards. So, this is again for people who are joining or people who have watched. This is Ellen KARIS. You can find her on Instagram and Twitter at Greek Chick Comic. So follow her, send her, follow her on Facebook. I think that's a little bit different. And thank you so much for being here and having this conversation with me. 2 hours and 14 minutes. That's a good one. This is a wide spectrum. It was really great.
I love it.
I can't wait to work with you. So hang out for a second, and I'll talk to you in a minute. I'm going to end the broadcast, but you'll still be there, okay?
Okay, great.
Let me get this stuff off here for a second. What am I showing? All right. Thanks again for coming in and hanging out with us, you guys. I really appreciate it. And please like this video if you see it. And, you know, share with your friends if you want to. But like us, say hi. Tell us that you enjoyed the conversation. Comment. Do something. Send some love. We love you. Thanks. Have a great night, and we'll see you soon. I could have had this ready so it wouldn't be so awkward. Okay, bye.